And welcome back. Still on the globe here on SABC News Channel. A faction of the AmaZulu royal family has traditionally crowned Prince Simakade as king of the AmaZulu nation. This is despite other members of the royal house and government officially recognizing his brother, King Misizulu, as the leader of the nation. On Saturday night, people gathered at Enyogeni Royal Palace for Prince Simakade's crown entering ceremony. Royal family members supporting him said only they can appoint a king, saying they do not recognize King Misizulu. Historian Professor Musa Kulegani is the founder of Idonza Yesizwe think tank, which focuses on the regeneration of the AmaZulu kingdom and other kingdoms in South Africa and Africa, as well as the diaspora through promotion of traditional and indigenous knowledge. He joins us now. Prof, a very good evening to you. Thank you so much for speaking to us. Perhaps very, very briefly, if you could just give us a sense of the work that you do.
We are Indonza Yesizwe. Thank you very much, my sister, and for your watchers as well. We are Indonza Yesizwe. We are formed under circumstances when the current king of the Zulu nation, which is King Misizulu, was being attacked from left, right, and center by descendants and defectors from the Zulu royal family. Some of them are not even members of that Zulu royal family. And they were saying whenever Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi takes things into perspective in terms of culture and heritage. And then they say, no, he's just talking on behalf of the IFP. So we, the academics, AmaKhosi, of the Zulu nation, business people, every professional person who is a Zulu, students, bishops, and the church people, and everyone you can think of, decided to come together and form Indonza Yesizwe in January 2022. Even academics at university, some of them are not even Zulus, but they can see the value that we're adding onto the protection of indigenous knowledge.
Prof. Kulu, then let's just jump straight into the crux of the matter, the developments that we've seen over the past couple of days of Nkosi Simakade entering Isibaya a week before his brother, whom the government recognizes as Isilo of AmaZulu. The people who were there and the people who weren't there, the significance of that. And is this unilateral action that has consequences?
No, Nkosi Simakade, there's nothing called Nkosi Simakade. He's a prince. He does not even qualify to be a king of Zulu because of our customs and traditions. And our customs and traditions are structured like this. His mother never married King Zwelithini, so it was a fling. Secondly, even if she had married King Zwelithini, she did not come from a royalty. Thirdly, as a result of that, when King Zwelithini, at his youth as a young king in the 70s, decided that he would like to get what is called the Indlovukazi, he approached Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi to talk to all the AmaKhosi of the Zulu nation, to say to them, I have seen someone lovable in the kingdom of Swaziland. As a result of all the clans and AmaKhosi paying lobola, which came to 170 heads of cattle in Gwangwane, Eswatini, that woman, in terms of our customs, that queen suddenly, immediately becomes the one that gives birth to a king. So King Misizulu is the rightful king of the Zulus in terms of Zulu customs. I don't know where Simakade gets and all these other people. I don't know where they come from.
I want to look back at history and what has happened because, as you say, there is a difference of opinion in some quarters. Now, after the death of King Dinuzulu, there was a succession debate by his son Solomon and Nyawana. How was that resolved? I believe that Solomon was the elder son and Nyawana said he was nominated by his father.
Yeah, no, even the father, in terms of Zulu culture, does not have an absolute power to nominate a king. A king is nominated by custom. You get born into kingship. You don't get nominated in any meeting, perchance, and so on. Even your father, in terms of how we deal with these things in Zulu culture, even your father as a king cannot nominate you to any position. You get born into the position of being a king. That's why King Misuzulu is king of Zulu, of the Zulu nation. It's because of how he was born. It's not because of any nomination. So the Zulu people, 17 million of them are clear on that. So, Simakade and his friend can meet there, maybe 47 of them, but it's not part of our culture and traditions and customs. The act is very clear. You go to your customs, and that's what you present to the president and to the premier of the province, and that is why the president, then as a result of the submission from the actual royal family, was able to then say, this is the king of Zulu.
You say the act is clear. Okay, you say the act is clear, and I want to hear from you. Are you talking about the Traditional Leaders and Governance Act? Does Section 17 say anything about Isilo and his spouses? And I ask this against the backdrop of Inkosi Solomon himself. When he died in 1943, we understand that his first wife produced a letter saying that her son, Cyprian, was the desired successor. So I want to understand the role of spouses. King Solomon, I understand, had 37 wives. There's a hierarchy, but according to custom, how does all of that work?
It works like this. Okay, King Solomon died in 1933, not in 1943.
Okay.
It works like this. You can have 100 wives. 100 wives from the Kulus and the Zulus and the Bielas and whatever they come from. But once there arrives a wife from a kingship, that's the one that becomes the head of the next king in terms of the lineup. It's the same thing that happened when Princess Makoko married to the Buthelezi family. She was wife number 10. She gave birth to Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi, who is now the head of the Buthelezi family. It works like that. The spouses can hope that nobody arrives from a kingship of any sort. It's not only the Zulus. It's the same thing with the Xhosas. It's the same thing with it. Everywhere there's Nguni people, that's how it works. We don't have this thing in Zulu culture because this is an African culture. It is one of the biggest African cultures. We don't have anything that says if you're the firstborn, you're automatically a king. It does not exist. Does not exist. It's not part of our culture. That thing is imposed by colonialism. Basically the culture from the United Kingdom and whatever. In Zulu culture, it does not exist. So Simakade faces a problem that actually, in terms of our cultures and that act, wants you to tell the president what do your cultures and traditions and customs say in terms of succession, because it's not the same. In the Ndebelers, the vendors have a different thing. The Botswana have a different succession system. What happened was that the Zulu royal family met, and following the customs of the Zulu, made recommendations to the president of the country that in terms of our customs, that is in line with the 2003 Act, in terms of our customs, a king comes from the one that comes from a royalty. If there was no royalty, it would have been a different story. Once there's a royalty spouse, then it changes everything. Everything changes. So I don't know why Simakade thinks that he's a king. He's not a king. He'll never be a king of the Zulu nation.
All right, very briefly, what
maybe do you, in some movie.
Very briefly, what do you anticipate will happen from here on?
What will happen is this. Next week, Saturday, on the 20th, the real king of the Zulu nation will enter the crown. It's not a coronation. It's not a coronation. It's a ritual that needs to happen to a king, but it does not always happen. King Zwelithini did not enter any crown. Did not enter any crown. Entering a crown does not make you a king. What makes you a king is how you are born. So you may have all these people wanting to enter a crown in Vanefin or wherever. It does not make you a king. What makes you a king is how you were born. Your mother, your father, and the rituals that you perform at your birth. That's what makes you a king. So entering a king, a crown, I wrote him a WhatsApp on Friday to say, listen, guy, entering a crown is neither here nor there. It's not important. How were you born? Who's your mother? Where's she? That's all.
All right, thank you so much.
He can't be a king. He simply can't. Yes, thank you.
We thank you for your insights. Professor Musa Kwelegani Xulu, who is speaking to us as the founder of Idonsa Yesizwe. It's a think tank and it focuses on the regeneration of the AmaZulu kingdom as well as other kingdoms in South Africa, Africa and the diaspora.